So, guys, today I'm going to talk to you about Thanksgiving because this week is Thanksgiving and we're learning about it in class. So, Thanksgiving means a time to be thankful. Okay, time to be thankful. Where did it come from? Early in the 17th century, a group of people called the Pilgrims. They did not agree with the Church of England. They felt that they were being treated unfairly, and so they left England to search for more freedoms. But after a few years, still very poor, not a lot of money, no food, they they were able to buy a trip to the New World, which is what we know today as the United States. How did they get here? They got here on the Mayflower. They left England in September of 1620 on the Mayflower, and their trip lasted for 65 days. It's a little more than 2 months. The conditions were very harsh, very bad, and one person died. Plymouth Rock is where they landed. Plymouth Rock is here in Massachusetts, and the rock is still there today. They built their houses, their barns, their animals, everything, while still living on the Mayflower. They were not able to just go to a house and live. They had to build their own, but they had to stay on the Mayflower until they did. There was great sorrow, a lot of sadness once that happened. Many pilgrims died from the bad New England weather. So if you live in Massachusetts or in the Northeast, you know the weather can be very, very bad. 46 out of 102 pilgrims died. Now, there are some indigenous people, some Native Americans that are important for you to know. A Native American called Samoset, he walked into the colony to help the pilgrims. He knew some English words from a harbor or an area of water in Maine where fishermen would come. Squanto also had been to England, and he learned a lot of English words too. So together, what these two indigenous people, we call them indigenous people, not really Indians anymore, it's not proper. Um, but they established what we call a peace treaty, and they started trading food, trading shelters, trading clothes with the pilgrims. So they made peace because they only knew a few words in English, but they made a lot of progress. They were very helpful with just those few words. How did everyone survive? So Squanto and Samoset helped the pilgrims survive by teaching them how to grow corn and other types of crops. Crops are things that you grow, and also how to fish. This is how they ate. So these two indigenous people were very, very important, even though they only knew a few English words. So teaching them all of these skills, teaching the pilgrims how to do all of these things, led to this harvest in 1621. And this harvest was a time that they decided they would give thanks for what they had, because without Samoset and Squanto, they wouldn't have had anything. So they celebrated. And the Pilgrims' governor was named William Bradford. He proclaimed this a day of thanksgiving to God for helping them to survive the bad, bad winter previous. They're about to hit another winter. And they invited their neighboring indigenous folks to join them in their celebration. And Massasoit, he was the Indians or the indigenous people's chief, and he came with 90 of his fellow indigenous people. This celebration lasted for 3 days. But 2 years later, there was a drought. The colony of Plymouth really suffered. So the governor ordered a day of fasting, meaning no eating, and prayers. So we would pray, we would not eat so much like we did 2 years ago. And soon afterwards, it began to rain. So the first Thanksgiving Day to celebrate God's answer to their prayers was November 29th, and that was proclaimed a day of Thanksgiving. This was the very first Thanksgiving that ever happened in the United States. Well, at this point, the colonies. Now it's a national day. Now we have a custom of annual, every year, Thanksgiving celebrations, and we don't go to work on these days. These became popular under George Washington, our first president, and Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president. They decided on Thanksgiving Day, on the fourth Thursday of November, we would celebrate Thanksgiving every year. And on Thanksgiving weekend, some things that people really do, it's one of the busiest travel periods. And it's like a 4 to 5 day vacation for most schools and businesses. So it's the best time to fly, maybe not this year with COVID. It's also the cheapest day to leave anywhere on Thanksgiving, and the cheapest day to return is usually Tuesday, which is normally December 2nd. This year's December 1st, but you get the idea. And then other traditions that Americans have for Thanksgiving is watching professional football games, TV programs, and the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade held in New York. I don't know what any of this will look like this year, but these are normally our normal celebrations. I think because of COVID, they will look very, very different. Now, it's really just a time to spend with family and friends and enjoy a large meal together and be thankful for everything you have, even if it's not a religious thing for many of you. Although this year, again, everything will be much different because we cannot have as many friends and family around. And Thanksgiving dinner for Americans usually consists of turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes with gravy, sweet potatoes, cranberry sauce, sweet corn, and pumpkin pie. These are traditional American foods for Thanksgiving. So that's it. Ask yourself what you're thankful for, and hopefully, maybe my next year we'll have a normal Thanksgiving again. Happy Thanksgiving in the meantime.